Starlight trembles across the darkened vault of the heavens, each point shimmering like a drop of silver fire suspended in a breathless moment. It is the quiet hour, the kind that makes Middle-earth hold still in its sleep, waiting for something older than memory to stir. And in the vastness above that silent world, Varda Elentári stands in the unseen reaches, her presence like a whisper of cold radiance, crafting constellations the way a sculptor smooths marble. Every spark she kindles hums with purpose. Some will be guides, some will be warnings. A few she sets aflame simply because beauty itself is an argument worth making. Welcome to the Elder Darkness. On this journey we drift along the arc of Varda's power, her touch on the stars, her voice in the void, and the quiet, steady strength that shapes both the mightiest Valar and the smallest wanderers in Middle-earth. You might find yourself somewhere in the story, so if you enjoy this kind of starlit wandering, remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more lore journeys whispered from the ancient days. And while you're here, let us know where in the world you're watching from. Now, lie back and relax as we travel to the world of Middle-earth. Starsmith of the Outer Void. She moves without motion, her gaze sweeping over the newborn firmament. In the earliest ages, long before elves wake beside the waters of Cuiviénen, Varda shapes light from memory itself. She knows the secret language of illumination, the hidden syllables that make radiance take form. When she gathers the cold fire of the timeless halls and breathes upon it, stars bloom like white flowers in an endless night. Their roots reach nowhere. Their glow belongs to every place. Even the other Valar pause to watch her work. Manwë, her beloved, senses her thoughts before she speaks them. His dominion is the winds and the airs, but hers is the space between them, the ungraspable ether where light learns to travel. Together they weave harmony, though it's clear who sets the shining notes. Middle-earth historians still debate whether the first Elvish word for hope originally referred not to courage, but simply to the light of Varda seen at a distance. It would be a very Elvish thing to do. When Melkor, once Morgoth in waiting, already bitter in his hunger for dominion, casts down the first works of the Valar, it is Varda who retreats not in fear, but in calculation. She understands darkness better than Melkor ever will. She understands that to banish shadow, one must first give it shape. And so, she gathers the brightest fires and sets them high above the world, where even Melkor's malice cannot blot them. The elves will later call her Elentári, the Star Queen, but in these dawnless days, she is more a gardener of the infinite, planting distant suns so that the children of Ilúvatar may one day lift their faces and know wonder. A faint breeze moves across Taniquetil's peak, though no wind should reach this high. Manwë knows it means she has passed. Even he cannot track her fully when her thoughts dwell on sky-lit matters. But he senses her attention turn outward toward the future, toward the first flicker of life that will awaken beside a shadowed lake. She is preparing lights for them, lanterns to greet their untested hearts. And perhaps, though she would not say so, she prepares lights to steady them against the fear of Melkor. A stray mote of stardust drifts through the void, one of countless fragments she has dismissed from her shaping. Most drift silently, but this one she gathers between her palms. It shivers with the remnant of her power. A whimsical idea forms. Not everything in creation must be grand. Some things exist just to exist, like that one star near the horizon that always seems to shine a little lopsided. Elvish astronomers argue about it for ages, completely unaware that Varda left it imperfect on purpose. Even divine beings get bored sometimes. Far below in the histories yet to come, in the world of the Lord of the Rings, Frodo Baggins will look up one night in Mordor and see a single star pierce the fumes of Mount Doom. That light, small and sharp and impossibly distant, will remind him that the shadow is only a passing thing. Frodo doesn't know it, but Varda's hand planned that moment ages before his line existed. She does not manipulate fate, only sets out lanterns for those willing to lift their eyes. Varda moves again, her presence brushing the edges of reality. She descends to Valinor, appearing beside the unmarred two trees. Telperion glows with silver dew, Laurelin sings with golden breath, and the world feels whole. She touches their light, not to alter it, but to listen. Light has memory, and she hears faint echoes of what the trees will someday lose. Manwë asks her what troubles her. She only smiles, the way someone does when they've predicted every possible storm and chosen not to share the forecast. When the elves finally awaken, they cry out in awe at the sight of the stars. Their first word of praise is her name. It drifts like a soft song across the waters of Cuivianen, and she hears every note, even light years away. Their voices reach her quicker than sound because reverence moves faster than physics. And in that moment, she becomes something she had not yet been, a guardian of hope. She takes the elves' devotion not as worship, but as a promise that she will give them light enough to see their paths. Some tales claim she places a new constellation in the sky at the very instant the first elf speaks. Middle-earth historians still debate whether that particular cluster corresponds to a modern star pattern or if it was later lost when the shape of the world changed. Either way, nothing that glows in the night escapes her attention. In one of those quiet, wandering detours future lore masters love to mention, it's said Varda once spent an entire age adjusting the brightness of a single star because it felt wrong. The star did not argue. You don't argue with the one who invented your luminosity. As the ages turn, her influence continues subtly. She does not stride into wars or raise mountains with gestures. She works in moments, in glimmers of clarity, in the tremble of a distant light at the hour someone needs it most. When Isildur flees beneath the cover of night after claiming the One Ring, the starlight he runs under sharpens the path just enough for him to escape the first ambush. Of course, the ring has its own plans for him later, but for that brief run, Varda gives him clarity that tragedy cannot dim. From Valinor's heights, she stands beside Manwë and looks eastward toward Middle-earth. Her expression softens, though she speaks no words. Stars flare suddenly across the sky, new ones, or perhaps old ones, revealed. The elves will see them, the dwarves will ignore them, and men will argue about them, but all will feel their presence. Varda lifts her hand. Light gathers, spills outward, and settles once more into permanence. Her power isn't noise or spectacle. It is the steady, ancient truth that even in the deep places of the world, someone has already lit a lamp for you. Queen who hears the unseen. Her gaze remains turned toward Middle-earth, though no mortal would ever sense it. Varda stands on the crystalline terraces of Taniquetil, where the air is so thin and pure that it seems woven from her own breath. Below her, Valinor glows like a dream, sealed from sorrow, yet her attention rests on the lands across the sea, lands where her light must struggle, flickering through smoke, cloud, and shadow. The Queen of the Stars listens, not with ears, but with the deep intuition of one who shaped the very pathways light uses to travel. She hears the far-off tremor of Sauron's rising power, not through sound, but through absence. Shadows thicken over Mordor, trying to mute the stars, and that is the sort of discourtesy she does not tolerate. When the fumes of Orodruin rise, they bruise the night sky, and Varda shifts her attention like a mother hearing a child whimper in another room. She cannot intervene directly. Valar do not walk into every storm, but she can strengthen the lights that darkness tries to smother. She lets certain stars burn a shade brighter, invisible to most eyes, yet unmistakable to the kind of soul who desperately needs a reminder that the night is not absolute. On one such night during the events of The Hobbit, Bilbo Baggins clings to a narrow ledge in the goblin tunnels beneath the misty mountains. He cannot see the sky, of course, but the faint glimmer on Sting, its soft blue glow as goblins draw near, reflects the starlight Varda nourishes, a small reflection of a small sword, but nonetheless part of her reach. Middle-earth historians still debate whether Varda intended the elvish blades of Gondolin to serve as pocket-sized starlight detectors, or if this was simply a fortunate coincidence. Even coincidence, however, is a suspiciously common theme when Varda is involved. Her attention shifts northward. Long ago, she placed bright clusters above the Forodwaith, where icy winds roar like beasts. Most travelers avoid those frozen lands, yet tales persist. Quiet, fringe things. That Varda once walked there in a form barely visible, checking on the integrity of her oldest stars. Some say a wandering hunter glimpsed a woman made of pale light, treading across the snow without leaving footprints. Scholars call this superstition. Poets call it inspiration. They both ignore the basic truth. Varda has never stopped caring about the light she made. Even stars grow lonely without a keeper. Back upon Taniquetil, she stands near Manwë, her presence a calm ripple against his vast dominion. When the winds bring him news of stirring troubles, wars, betrayals, the rise of pride and fall of kingdoms, she listens. She seldom speaks, for she knows that the fates of Arda do not hinge on her voice, but on her illumination. While others wage battles or forge destinies, she keeps the stars steady, because the children of Ilúvatar must always have something constant to look toward. Far into the Third Age, on the night Aragorn rests beneath the trees after guiding the hobbits through the wilds, a cold wind brushes the camp. The ranger looks upward, reading the stars the way a lore master reads ancient scrolls. He recognizes constellations tied to old prophecies, some shaped by Varda in ages past. Without quite knowing why, he feels reassured. He senses purpose in the pattern above him, even if the path ahead is tangled with danger. That subtle sense of guidance is Varda's gift, never a command, only a suggestion written in shimmering dots of light. Down in Middle-earth, many voices whisper her name in moments of dread or hope. Elves call to her with reverence. Men do so with uncertainty. Dwarves mostly skip the topic unless the stars are directly helping them find the right tunnel angle. Still, even the dwarves admit that the sky is less offensive when the stars are bright. Varda takes no offense. She created the stars to be admired, not adored. And if someone appreciates light purely for practicality, she'll accept the compliment with cosmic grace. There is, buried deep in older tales, a strange account that only a few scholars dare discuss. It claims that Varda once placed a star specifically for a single mortal, an unnamed wanderer who lived long before famous heroes took up their quests. This wanderer, cold and exhausted, supposedly followed a particular star across a desolate plain until he stumbled upon shelter. Whether the tale is true or not is unclear, for Middle-earth historians still debate whether Varda would ever tailor a celestial event for one insignificant life. Yet, when one considers her past decisions, perhaps insignificance is exactly the point. Stars shine for everyone, even those no one remembers. She raises a hand, smoothing the night like a painter, ensuring the canvas remains unwrinkled. A faint crackle of cosmic tension ripples across the sky as she adjusts distances invisible to mortal senses. Somewhere far in the east, a shepherd glances upward, sensing a subtle shift, with no idea of its cause. A star seems to twinkle more warmly. He smiles without knowing why. Varda allows herself the smallest hint of amusement. Mortals often assume meaning where there is none, and regularly miss meaning where it blazes brightest, an irony she finds endlessly entertaining. Yet her humor does not diminish her vigilance. She knows the long defeat against darkness is never final. Sauron may fall, the One Ring may be lost, kingdoms may rise and crumble, but shadow always tries to return. Even in the Fourth Age, long after the War of the Ring has ended, some say the stars occasionally flare in warning when unrest grows in distant lands. The light responds before the world realizes why. Those who study such things argue about intention versus reaction, but Varda pays those debates little mind. Stars do as she shaped them to do, reveal the truth, however faintly. Her power is not loud. It is not the cracking of mountains or the eruption of elemental wrath. It is the soft persistence of light, refusing to be extinguished. It is the quiet glow above Minas Tirith on the night the white tree blooms again. It is the glimmer in Legolas's eyes as he sings of the seas he has yet to sail. It is the reflection in Gimli's helm when he looks up, muttering something about too many blinking lights, just before admitting that they aren't half bad. And so Varda watches. She listens. She illuminates. Not as a distant deity, but as a keeper of hope so fundamental that most forget to thank her for it. The Queen of the Stars stands eternal, patient, untroubled, but never inattentive. Every flicker in the sky is her promise that no matter how deep the shadow grows, someone has already kindled a fire beyond its reach. The night softens now, settling into a gentle hush, as if the world itself exhales after a long wandering tale. Above the quiet lands of Middle-earth, the stars rest easily in their places, shining without urgency, without demand, simply offering their calm presence to anyone who lifts their eyes. Their glow stretches slowly across the sky, easing into the deep blue, smoothing the last echoes of ancient memories until they drift like distant waves. Varda's light seems to move more softly here, as though she treads closer to the listener, not to dazzle, but to reassure. The constellations she shaped lean into a slower rhythm, their brilliance lengthening, unfurling, almost humming with comfort. In that glow, the sharp edges of the world feel a little less sharp, and the spaces between breaths grow wider, easier, more welcoming. If you listen closely beneath the starlit quiet, there is a steady, soothing promise that the darkness above and around you is not empty nor threatening, but simply part of the vastness where light chooses to bloom. Every shimmer becomes a reminder that even in the longest silence, something gentle still watches. Something ancient still cares. Let the final threads of the story drift outward, carried on the slow winds that circle the heights of Taniquetil. Let the brightness fade only enough to soften, never enough to vanish. As the stars settle back into their eternal watch, allow the last embers of Varda's radiance to calm your thoughts, loosen your shoulders, and guide you toward rest. The sky remains, the light remains, and somewhere far above, the Queen of the Stars keeps her vigil.